Good morning and welcome to the BLACKBIRD PLC Annual General Meeting proceedings. Throughout the recorded meeting, attendees will be in listen-only mode. Questions can be submitted at any time by the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Just simply type in your questions and press send. Due to the number of attendees on today's call, the company may not be in a position to answer every question received during the meeting itself. However, the company can review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it's appropriate to do so. I'd now like to hand over to Andrew Bentley, Chairman. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to everyone here and everybody watching online. It's now 10:30, and as the quorum required by the company's Articles of Association is now present, I'd like to welcome you to BLACKBIRD's 2024 AGM. May I begin by introducing myself and other members of the board. I'm Andrew Bentley and currently Chairman of the company. I'm joined here by Ian McDonough, CEO, Steve White, Chief Operating and Financial Officer. Yep, next to Ian, Stephen Streeter, Research and Development Director, and Andy Kirkhoff, who is the new Senior Independent Non-Executive Director to my left. May I also introduce our Company Secretary, Martin Kay, who's here today, and Jeremy Reid, representing our auditors, Moore Kingston Smith LLP. Nick Taylor, Pierce Shimwell, and Amrit Nal are here representing our novated broker, Allenby Capital. So before proceeding with the formal part of the AGM, I'd like to take the opportunity of commenting on the company's progress since we last met, as announced earlier this morning, and I'll be reading through this morning's statement. The past year was one of significant investment and transformation for the company, with the company's collaborative video content creation platform, Elevate.io, designed for the creator SaaS and corporate AV markets, launched into early access in November, and subsequently into general release at the end of March 2024. Elevate.io is built on the company's core patented technology, which leverages our key technological advantages around smoothness of playback, navigation, and speed on top of proven reliability. Additionally, as Elevate.io is built on the AWS public cloud, it can be easily scaled and integrated with third-party features and functionality, helping to build out the Elevate marketplace. Early users have been positive about the simple, easy-to-use interface and are buying into the vision, recognizing that this will solve many of their current content creation issues. They can also see how collaboration will reduce friction, increase speed, and improve output whilst making the production process more enjoyable. In advance of marketing, Elevate.io is in the planned general release phase, and although not yet at a chargeable grade, we currently have early adopters in the high hundreds. They're engaged in uploading, creating, and publishing video. As a new platform with different ways to create video, our teams are gaining an enormous amount of insight from the early adopter activity, especially around collaboration supporting our assumptions. I'm pleased to report that we've had 100% uptime since early access began. As is the expectation of today's SaaS market, Elevate is being continually enhanced using rapid deployment method, and already multiple features have been added. These include more editing controls, general performance improvements, and the addition of markers, with many more to come. Functionality and features will continue to be added and rolled out, and will open up our user base and lead to a step change in our marketing and partnership activity. There's a growing number of companies who have successfully executed product-led growth in parallel SaaS markets, in particular Figma and Canva, who we look to emulate. The growth curve they followed was an initial period of investment where the focus is high-quality product development, followed by a steep growth phase once the product reaches an appropriate level of maturity and the users reach a critical mass. Due to its complexity, the video medium has been the last to convert to a collaborative web platform. Our inherent technological advantage at BLACKBIRD has allowed us to finally solve the problems of collaborative web video and launch a working multiplayer video creation experience on the web, which is very exciting. But the total addressable market for Elevate is huge, growing fast and ripe for distribution. Our initial serviceable addressable market, where we are targeting professional teams and content creators, is calculated at 6.9 billion. We've seen in parallel SaaS industries, there's a huge reward for companies who succeed. Our overarching goal for the Elevate platform are to be able to create, manage, and distribute content. As a first step on the latter, I'm pleased to announce that prototype of our experimental player will be demonstrated after the AGM today, ahead of its release as a publishing destination from Elevate. This will enable Elevate users to be able to share their content with other people quickly without the need to render. Viewers of the content will then be able to reshare the content with other people or clip and share. Long-term followers of Blackbird are aware that our award-winning technology is well recognized within the professional broadcast and media and entertainment market, the M&E market. It's used on the pinnacle of content and within the sports sector on the majority of major sporting events during 2023. This year, through an OEM partner, it'll be used at this year's Summer Games, where the platform will be used on up to 70 concurrent feeds, granting access to our full suite of tools to global broadcasters. This M&E market has previously been the main focus and drive of our go-to-market strategy. However, each of our major accounts have often required bespoke integrations, which are both time-consuming and costly, combined with the pressures that major broadcasters face with diminishing audience share and reduced advertising or subscription revenues. It's proven a challenging task to grow our share of the M&E services market. This is reflected in our 2023 revenues, which decreased for the first time in 5 years to 1.94 million due to a number of deal losses and some non-recurring revenues from 2022. The board recognized the challenges of the M&E market back in 2022, leading to the refocus of our investment and resources into the creator space and Elevate.io. We've taken decisive actions against our M&E cost base last year and this year. And as previously stated, we are targeting an EBITDA break-even for the Blackbird division in 2024 this year. There have been a number of changes to the board over recent months. John Honeycutt and Dawn Airy leaving, and Andy Kirchhoff joining us, as previously announced. As previously announced, I'll also be leaving the company on the 31st of August and stepping down as the chair at the conclusion of today's meeting. Andy Kirchhoff will assume the role of chair, and the company is actively recruiting further non-executive directors. The board believes very strongly in our strategy and that it's the right one. We've developed a platform in Elevate that has the potential market far in excess of that available to us in traditional M&E, and where we are early to market and currently with far fewer competitors. We, the board and senior management, are shareholders in Blackbird, and we are very mindful of the investment journey that each of us has experienced. On behalf of the board, I'd simply like to thank you for your belief and ongoing support, particularly as we transition the business in order to realize the full economic potential of our technology. I might just add, it's been quite a privilege to chair this company. So I'd like to now turn to the formal business of the AGM. The notice of the AGM, the circular to shareholders, including the notice of the AGM, together with a copy of the company's 2023 report and accounts, was published on the 25th of May 2024, and accordingly, notice of the AGM has been duly given in accordance with the statutory requirements and the company's articles of association. Further copies of the report and accounts, together with the notice of the AGM, are available on the company's website. With your permission, I'd like to take this as read. So, the first resolution today is to receive the report and accounts of the company for its year ending the 31st December 2023. The reports of the directors and the auditors are set out in pages 13 to 25 of the accounts. And again, with your permission, I'd like to take these as read. Before the resolution is proposed, I invite any questions. No? Okay. And I propose that the resolution, may I call upon you by a show of hands to indicate those in support of the resolution and those in support first, please. Thank you. And those against. So I'd like to declare that the resolution was carried unanimously. I'd mentioned that over 99% of the proxy votes that have been lodged by the company in respect to this resolution, totaling 187,553,227 votes, including the chairman and third parties' discretionary votes, were in favour of the resolution, and 257,000 were against. The second resolution is to approve the directors' remuneration and benefits for the year ending the 31st December 23. Details of such are disclosed in Note 3 of the 2023 financial statements. It's worth noting that this resolution is being put to an advisory vote in line with the recommendation of the QCA Corporate Governance Code of 2023, 3rd edition, and in accordance with the provisions of the Companies Act 2006. The director's entitlement to such remuneration and benefits is not a conditional on the resolution being passed. Before I put the resolution to the room, I invite any questions. No. And I propose that the resolution is put to the meeting. May I call upon you by a show of hands to indicate those in support of the resolution and those against. Thank you. I declare that the resolution is carried unanimously. I would mention that over 93% of the proxy votes that have been lodged in the company in respect of the resolution, totaling 174,892,929 votes, were in favour of the resolution, and 12,906,498 were against. The third resolution, it's for the reappointment of Moore Kingston Smith LLP as the company's auditors and to authorise the directors to fix their remuneration. Before the resolution, I propose, I invite any questions once again. Nope. And I propose that the resolution put to the meeting. May I call upon you by show of hands to indicate, firstly, those in support of the resolution. Thank you. And those against. Again, I declare that the resolution is carried unanimously. I'd mention that over 99% of the proxy votes that have been lodged with the company in respect of the resolution, totaling 187,549,283 votes, were in favour of the resolution, and 260,944 were against. The fourth resolution is for the reappointment of myself as a director. I'm standing for annual re-election in accordance with the good corporate governance practice and the recommendations of the QCA Corporate Governance Code. Before the resolution is proposed, I would invite once again any questions. Nope. I now propose that a resolution is put to the meeting. May I call upon those? May I call upon you by a show of hands to indicate, first of all, those in support of the resolution and those against. I now declare the resolution carried unanimously. I would mention that over 93% of the proxy votes that have been lodged for the company in respect of this resolution, totaling 174,673,509 votes, were in favour of the resolution, and 13,136,718 were against. The fifth resolution is for the reappointment of Ian McDonough as a director who's standing for annual re-election in accordance with the good corporate governance practice and the recommendations of the QCA Corporate Governance Code 2023. Before the resolution is proposed, I again invite any questions. No. And I propose that the resolution is put to the meeting. May I call upon you by a show of hands to indicate, firstly, those in support and those against. So I declare that the resolution is carried unanimously, and I would mention that over 99% of the proxy votes that have been lodged with the company in respect to this resolution, totaling 187,504,838 votes, were in favour of the resolution, and 305,389 were against. The sixth resolution is for the reappointment of Stephen White as a director, who's standing for annual re-election in accordance with the good corporate governance practice and the recommendations of the QCA Corporate Governance Code 2023. Before the resolution is proposed, I invite any questions. No questions. I now propose the resolution is put to the meeting. May I call upon you by a show of hands to indicate those in support. Thank you. And those against. I now declare the resolution carried unanimously. I'd mentioned that over 99% of the proxy votes that have been lodged with the company, totaling 175,552,125 votes, were in favour, and 753,102 were against. The seventh resolution is for the reappointment of Stephen Streeter as a director, who's standing for re-election, again in accordance with the good corporate governance and the recommendations of the QCA Corporate Governance Code 2023. Before the resolution is proposed, I invite any questions. I now propose the resolutions put to the meeting. May I call upon you by a show of hands to indicate those first in support? Thank you. And those against? I now declare the resolution carried unanimously. I'd mentioned that over 99% of the proxy votes that have been lodged, totaling 187,502,125 votes, were in favour of the resolution, and 308,102 were against. The eighth resolution is for the reappointment of Anne D. Kirchhoff as a director, who was appointed as a director by the board with effect from the 6th of March 2024 and is standing for re-election and appointment by shareholders. Before the resolution is proposed, I invite any questions. I now propose the resolution is put to the meeting. May I call upon you by a show of hands to indicate first those in support and those against. I declare that the resolution is carried unanimously. I'd mentioned that over 99% of the proxy votes that have been lodged, totaling 187,052,125 votes, were in favour of the resolution, and 758,102 were against. The ninth resolution is to renew the authority of the directors to issue shares set at a limit equal to 1/4 of the issued share capital of the company to the date of the notice. I'd make it clear that, save for the grant of options under the company's share option scheme and the allotment of shares pursuant to outstanding share options, and to satisfy vested awards under the company's long-term incentive plan, the directors have no current plans to issue further shares pursuant to this authority if renewed. Before the resolution is passed, may I ask for any questions? Question at the back.
I appreciate your statement that at the moment there's no need to issue new shares, but what would you personally be using them for, may I ask? In light of the way the company is at present, is there any particular reason why you'd want to have that resolution?
Well, it provides us with the flexibility if such an event that requires us to issue shares comes about. It gives us the ability to do that without calling out to our shareholders for approval. It's standard practice for most organisations and has been for this company since its beginning.
I know it is, but as shareholders, obviously, if new shares are issued, it means eyes overall have been diluted in a sense because things aren't going where they ought to be going. Oh, yes, please. Can you all hear me okay? And yeah, I mean, I have no particular problem against it, but I'm just wondering what your plans are. Is there any plans? But I know you can't tell us necessarily because it's confidential for market purposes, but hopefully it's not just to actually be used for the purposes of debt. We obviously want to make sure that the company's going in place. I have no problems in principle, so long as it's been wisely used.
Well,
yeah. We will go through our strategy in the next section. So hopefully I'll answer all your questions then in that respect.
Okay. Can I put the resolution to the meeting? And may I call upon you to, by a show of hands, indicate first of all those in support of the resolution. Thank you. And those against? I now declare the resolution is carried unanimously. I'd also mention that 99% of the proxy votes have been lodged by the company, totaling 187,464,710 votes were in favour of the resolution, and 345,517 were against. The 10th resolution is to renew the authority of the directors to issue shares in cash for certain limited circumstances without first offering those shares to existing shareholders. Again, I'd make it clear that, save for the grant of options under the company share option scheme and the allotment of shares pursuant to outstanding shares options, and to satisfy vested awards under the company's long-term incentive plan, the directors have no current plans to issue further shares pursuant to this authority, but would wish to retain the flexibility to do so in the limited circumstances set out in the resolution. But before the resolution is proposed, I invite any questions. I now propose the resolution is put to the meeting as a special resolution. May I call upon you by a show of hands to indicate, first of all, those in support of the resolution? Thank you. Those against? I declare that the resolution has been carried unanimously as a special resolution. I'd mentioned that over 93% of the proxy votes that have been lodged in respect of the resolution totaling 174,986,409 votes were in favour of it, and 12,817,018 were against. The 11th resolution is to approve the renewal of the BLACKBIRD PLC Long-Term Incentive Plan 2019 LTIP for a further period of 3 calendar years from its expiry on the 31st of December 2024, and to renew the authority of the directors to allot shares in the company to satisfy vested awards under the LTIP without first offering those shares to existing shareholders. Before the resolution is proposed, I invite any questions. No questions. I now propose that the resolution is put to the meeting as a special resolution. May I call upon you by a show of hands to indicate first of all those in support. Thank you. And those against. I declare that the resolution is carried unanimously as a special resolution. I'd also mention that over 99% of the proxy votes that have been lodged with the company, totaling 187,373,329 votes, were in favour of the resolution, and 436,898 were against. That concludes the formal voting of the resolutions for approval at today's AGM. If any vote lost on share, that's a note for me. As previously announced, I intend to step down as the company's chairman, but remain on the board as a non-executive director until the 31st of August 2024. The company is actively looking to recruit a further non-executive director, and Anne de Kerkhoff has agreed to act as the chair going forward. She has a very strong breadth of industry experience and knowledge, and Anne, I believe, is ideally placed to lead the board into the next phase of the company's execution of its strategy, and I welcome her to the board. Thank you for your attendance. I'm now going to hand over to the management team to update you on business before opening the floor to any questions from any of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Okay. Right, we've got a slide up here, so that's good. I am going to... Hold on a second. So we have two sides to our business. We have a side that is working in the M&E market for some of the most prestigious sports and news organizations and entertainment organizations in the world. And we have a new product that's emerging in Elevate.io. Today, I just want to take us back to 2021, where we were coming through the end of COVID. Our share price was very high. We were growing sales, and we were landing large deals. I just want to remind you of that point, because it's a point where we always look back to as a kind of a point where we looked at ourselves, looked at our business, and decided that we could make a profitable business in the M&E sector. We could build a nice niche business in the M&E sector in the sports and news environment. What we decided to do was far more ambitious. What we decided to do was build a product where we believe the technology really suited building a product that's going to change the way the video is created on a much larger scale, and that is in the creator economy and in the enterprise world. So we raised money back in 2021 in order to really catapult the company. So I just want to take us back to that point and remind ourselves that we could have done the kind of easy solution, if you like, going down a small company route with M&E sector. I overtook a product over in 2017 that we pushed really hard. We really pushed it hard. It went into the world's largest business news organization, went into pretty much every major sporting event in 2023. It went into the world's largest business news, went into the US Department of State, and this year is in the Summer Games. So it's been a really good showcase for that piece of technology, and we wanted to make sure that we could springboard from that to leverage this company much bigger. So next slide, please, Susanna. We embarked on a strategy of product-led growth. Product-led growth can be articulated in the three words of it's the consumerization of software. So this is about creating a consumer grade software for professionals and professional tooling for consumers. And there are three companies here on the right hand side of the slide that I'm sure you know very, very well that have executed this extremely well. And these are the poster child companies that we wish to emulate. There are numerous benefits to a consumer-led growth strategy, namely that we build the product that the customers really want, lowering the CAC, meaning that there is a virality, meaning that there is a massive scalability. You have happy customers, retained customers, and really compounded, accelerated growth. Next button, please, Summit. As you know, those companies on the right-hand side of the slide have got extremely high valuations in sometimes in the tens of billions. And the key features really are making sure that that the playbook is executed well. Now, there is a playbook here, and a lot of people ask me questions about strategy and about how we're going about rolling out Elevate.io. We are sticking to the playbook that has been well executed by these companies. Now, that is really starting with a strong product vision. And Summit came on board middle of 2022 to build on our product vision of building a platform for the creator economy, and conceived Elevate. It is then really a focus on quality engineering. This playbook doesn't mean that one phase stops, by the way, and the other phase starts. Everything goes along. So the product vision is continuing, and Summit and the team are continuing to execute that product vision. There's been a real focus on quality engineering since that team arrived as well. So and that will continue through. So those two teams are working exceptionally well together. It then we go into a phase of driving adoption, driving free user adoption through free user acquisition, free user activation, and free user retention. And I have to say, when you look at these three areas, acquisition, activation, retention, free user retention is really our North Star metric that we want to make sure that we become a daily driver for the customers that we bring on board. And that is really, we're in that stage now where we're just starting to get, we've released a general release version of the product. We've got users in the high hundreds that are really showing us the way that this product is being used, especially around the collaboration part of it. What happens then is experimentation. Data-driven experimentation starts then, where we are experimenting with new features, with the way that we communicate, and the way that those customers continue to stick with the product all the way through. And this is really about creating. That's okay. Do we like to take a seat just here? So it's about driving that adoption, and then creating a buy model. And the buy model for us is we'll talk about that in a little second. But it's about making sure that our customers are really happy with the product first. That exceptional quality on engineering and that product vision is being executed. And then the exponential growth happens. Then the compounding happens. Then the virality happens. Then the sharing happens, and performance marketing kicks in as well. So that's been seen from other companies, and it's going to be seen from us. Yeah, next one, please. Now, we didn't conceive this product in a complete vacuum. We had focus groups on a quantitative and a qualitative basis in the kind of 300 level of people. So this is right across that corporate sector, so that professional sector that want a consumer grade product, and that creator sector that want professional tooling. So we had users in all areas, and they told us things that can fall into these kind of six or eight buckets. Yes, we want to have our video assets in one place. We're over juggling hard drives around. We want to use AI tools to transcript and to add imagery. We want to do it on low-powered computers. We want to do it on Chromebooks because we don't want to issue everyone with high-powered laptops. And as a creator, I don't have access to a high-powered laptop. I want instant feedback to my client's work. I want instant feedback to my agency's work. That was also something that we heard a lot. And I want to be able to publish. I want to be able to publish, put the push a button to numerous places. I want to be able to access that content very quickly, and I want it to go to all my different social feeds. So this is what we are always hearing through those focus groups. Maybe next slide, please. So that is where we really nail down the vision of what Elevate.io is. And Elevate.io is far more than a video editor. This is a web-based collaborative video content creation platform. And that means that it has a create part of it. It has the editing side of it. It has the video creation aspect to it. But it also has the asset management side to it. So that is what we hear loud and clear. I want to upload my assets simply from mobile to one place. I know where it's found, and it's going to be there. So that's where the AWS native architecture comes from, and that is part of the platform. And then distribute. So at a push of a button, I want to go to all my feeds. Across that, in order to future-proof the platform, there'll be a marketplace for each of those areas. So for the create area, there'll be a marketplace for, and this is to come in the next year. So the marketplace, there'll be a for AI, generative AI. There'll be a marketplace for effects. There'll be a marketplace for stock imagery, for stock video, so that our creators do not have to leave the platform. Everything they need is there. There'll be a marketplace for managing the platform, so whether it be Dropbox or other asset management tools, and there'll be an area where for distribution you can go to wherever you want. It could be YouTube, whether it be TikTok, whether it be to our own player where it's instantaneous access. Now, timelines to that exponential growth. I know that this is always being it's always a question, and I want to just show you some comparators in the companies that we just talked about. So next one, please. So the first one is Canva. Now, Canva was quite a simple product, actually, although it was a genius idea. Melanie Perkins conceived of this product with Fusion Books back in 2007. She didn't launch that product as Canva until 2013. Her main product concept kind of came along in 2010, but she launched that product in 2013. So some way between that. She did 18 rounds of funding for that product, and she had her pro tiers come in at the end of year 4. By halfway through year 5, she had 3.6 users. Remember, this is much more a consumer grade product. But what I really wanted to point out on this slide is how those users really compound after a certain level. So year 9 here on the slide, 40 million, gone from 3.6 to 40 million users. Then to 75, then to 100. It's currently on about 135 million users. And although valuations differ, she's just about to go to IPO with the product. Estimates at the high point were around $40 billion. It's currently still in like the $26 billion range for Canva. Just shows you how big the opportunity is on offer. Next one, please. So next one for us that we really want to measure ourselves, and probably more appropriate to us because of the complexity of this product, where there's vector editing and much more difficult pro tooling that's been developed, is Figma. Now, Figma was a product that was conceived in 2010, raised seed all the way along, but didn't launch their closed beta until the 5th year of their development. Launched to an open audience later that year. Didn't launch with multiplayer originally. Figma is very, very famous for its multiplayer aspect, and didn't launch that multiplayer until kind of halfway through its year 6. Paid tiers didn't come until the end of year 7 of its development. So just another thing to bear in mind. Now, we all know the Figma story. I know the Figma story very well. I'm not sure that everyone knows the Figma story, but so Figma that's a really good point. Sorry, I just always talking from my own perspective. Figma was almost acquired by Adobe about 2 years ago. So Adobe put in a bid for Figma.
So what do they do exactly?
So Figma is a design tool that is collaborative in nature.
Is it because I use Camtasia? Is it something like that?
It's more like Illustrator online. So it's more like a graphics, Photoshop, and Illustrator,
Photoshop, yeah.
but all online and all in the browser and multiplayer.
Multiplayer meaning
So you don't have to download it, the software. You have to subscribe.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
and that's where that's the similarity to us. So there's a subscription platform that will allow for collaborative work. So collaborative web design in the case of Figma. So that you and I could be jumping on the same Figma document together. In fact, numerous people could be. And that is really the key to where Elevate has its why we built it the way it is, so that to share. So yes, it really allows for a collaborative experience meaning that not just that we create together, but also that we can review and approve together, or that we can have instantaneous access to maybe our agency's files or to our clients' work, and be able to see how the progress is going without going through a kind of loop of passing backwards and forwards, similar to a kind of Google Docs way. Yeah. So it's paid tiers kind of at the end of year 7. Adobe tried to buy this company. It had started to get massive large market share, and they did a raise in 2021. The company was estimated around a 10 billion market value. Adobe tried to buy it a year later for around 20 billion. Unfortunately, by then, unfortunately for both parties, by then, the market share was too large for that deal to complete, and so the deal hasn't gone through because the CMA said that it was dominant. But it is a highly successful company. It continues to grow to this day. They've raised about 749 million in funding over that time.
And your purpose would be to make it go smoother. Is that how I understand it?
Great segue to my next. I said a great segue to my next slide. Okay, so this is our timeline to now.
Sorry, can I just quickly
make
sure they're on the same page? CMA, I'm assuming, is the Competition and Markets Authority.
Competition and Markets Authority in the UK. Yeah, that's right. That's where it came unstuck. So it was going to go through.
Not really necessarily know that. I mean, that's why I'm coming out to that.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for the clarification. The Competition and Markets Authority said that it was dominant in the market, and therefore it hasn't gone through. Still, that's a timing issue, and takes nothing away from Figma's incredible success. So Elevate.io is at a much earlier part of its growth. Now, I know there's been quite a lot of time between the company inception and Elevate starting, but I really want to make sure that we understand that when that fundraise happened at the end of 2021, and I brought on key members of the team, including Summit, mid 2022, that was really where the Elevate story really begins. And so we're very early in that stage still. So Summit came on board June 2022. Just over a year later, we had our closed beta out in the market. So our closed beta early access out in the market, and that was November 2023. We've had general access, so we've opened up that beta to everybody so we can experiment and learn. March 2024. And then as we look forward, so this is kind of the big news, I guess, of today, is that we're going to be looking forward to Q1 2025, where we have our paid tiers. So this is a real intense period of product engineering, of experimentation, and making sure that when we roll out in our paid tiers early next year, that's going to drive to that product-led growth that we all wish for. Now, I've shown these slides before, so
just before you, it's probably worth mentioning that the speed at which this product's been developed is so incredible, and it's all because of the years that went before and the amazing patents and technology that the company had developed over the many years. So don't look back on the period before 2021 and think, well, we're now waiting for that's when all the good stuff's happened. All the technology was developed well ahead of that, and enabled us to move at quite a pace here that Ian's now taking us through.
Because I've been since 2000, because of Forbidden Technology set up. Yeah. So it's quite a long time, to wait.
Yes. Well, we found the right use for it now. I think that's really where we're going with it.
I think there's 2 points there. Thank you, Andy, for slowing me down, because I think that's true. It's not just about the fact that we're now compressing those periods, and you're right. It's like for me as a major investor in the company, and for others, it's not just that we've now compressing the things. We're actually solving this problem that no one else can solve. The video hasn't been solved as a collaborative web experience as yet, and it's really the biggest prize of all in that respect, because it's such a heavy and cumbersome medium to work with that no one else has been able to solve this. Yes, there's been graphic design, very brilliant product, and I'm glad that that they've shown the way. Figma, vector editing, brilliant to have solved those problems. Video is the next level of difficulty, and we're solving that. So we've solved that that issue with our first iterations. We've launched multiplayer. It is a beautiful experience to work with the multiplayer in the Elevate IO.
So it's similar to Camtasia, but it's accessible by many people.
Yes, there's some similarities there, and the way that it's architected means that as like AWS, it's incredibly scalable from this point on as well. So yes, it's really about building on standing on the shoulders of two sets of giants, if you like. One is Stephen's work that he's done with building out the software, the codec and the video libraries around that, but also the work that Canva and Figma have done, showing us the way that a collaborative web platform can really be scaled. So there's two areas there where we've got the advantage of learning from.
And then you'll be able to use AI voices and
absolutely
images I don't like. You get like 6 fingers. So
that's a really good point. So the way that we are designing it, I'll just go back up to the market. Let me show that. This slide, yeah, I think that's the slide. That one, back. That one. So where the marketplace is there on this vision allows us to bring form to the amazing functionality that you hear about all the time now in the press on AI. So whether it be generative AI or analytical AI, that will be available to Elevate IO users through our marketplace. So a lot of those AI companies, they do something brilliantly, you know, when OpenAI aside, most of them do one thing really brilliantly, and we can make sure that we can do that. We can bring that one thing to the Elevate platform and allow our users to generate an image, or to analyze an image, or to analyze text, or whatever it be. So it's really future-proofing it for the user. Yeah, go back to this. Yeah. So yeah, so the market opportunity in the creator space, it can't be understated. This is a huge opportunity. Goldman Sachs have talked about this being a $500 billion market by 2027, and it's growing really quickly. I mean, so it's the growth rates I'd like you to look at more than the size of the market, because we're not going for the entire market. The tools and services side of that market is currently a $20 billion market, and will grow to around 181 billion by 2032. So it just shows you the scales in which people are looking at in terms of the growth here. Now, if you look at our serviceable addressable market, this means that when Elevate is in its paid instance, that we're looking at around $6.9 billion market. That is today, and again, you can factor in growth rates there. That is those professional teams that we talked about. That is those monetized creators at the top end of the creator economy. Now, you might say, well, 6.9 billion compared to the 500 billion doesn't sound so great. Well, if you put it into context here, Figma's TAM is currently about a $1.1 billion market. It's going to grow to about 4 billion by 2027, but it just shows that you can build an extremely valuable company off the back of a smaller TAM. FigJam is its second product. That TAM that total addressable market, is around $2.6 billion. So Figma has built a very valuable platform in a market that's around half the size of the platform the market that we're going for. Again, back to my first slide. This is a product that's going to be used by two sets of audience. One is the content creators, that really fast-growing group of users that are monetizing their content, and secondly, the pro teams working within a corporate or enterprise environment. Again, just repeat. So they want to have a professional tooling in the content creator side, and they want to have a consumer-grade product, easy-to-use product in the pro teams side of it. So it's really important to note that. Yeah, next one. Right, so our go-to-market. So our go-to-market, I've split into two different slides. One is 2024. So this is just to reiterate, this is before we go to a paid tier, which is early 25. This will be a largely light investment and focus up front in terms of organic growth. So it's making sure that we've got the right blogs out there, that we're highly visible to people searching for the likes of a Chromebook editor, or the likes of a video editor on the web, or a collaborative editor. So building those blogs out. working with our teams internally to build out video, organic video on all the major platforms. So for the creators on Instagram and TikTok, for the editors on Reddit and Discord, and for the corporate users on LinkedIn and Facebook. And of course, they all intermingle, but if you think it into those kind of three main buckets. Yeah, next one, please. And going into retention, goes back to my point about quality engineering, making sure that those features that we view as being sufficient are brilliantly engineered by our team and make that product do the work in terms of the growth and the retention. And then we'll also be building a community around the product, making sure that our users can talk to us, making sure that our users can talk to each other, and really building a love for Elevate. Next slide. Now going into 2025, things get more interesting. We really will be looking at a conversion there. So making sure that we will be investing more heavily in terms of paid search. We will be investing more heavily in terms of paid social. We'll be expanding our organic video into more long form YouTube. We'll be working much more with influencers, and we'll be bringing on partnerships. And those partnerships may well could be hardware, they could be public cloud, or they could be creator networks. And we've had a lot of interest already from creator networks who want to work with us when our product is at the stage where that can be used by a large group of their creator input team.
What is the creator network exactly?
So they used to be called MCNs, which is kind of multi-channel network. Multi-channel networks existed. I think was it Magic Studio? Was it Magic Studio, the big one, the Disney one? There was 10 years or so ago. There was you would outsource your video that you wanted to put on YouTube to these kind of large multi-channel networks. They've developed now into the likes of Jelly Smack, who have thousands of creators that input content into the kind of pool of. So if you're Unilever, you might well go to Jelly Smack and ask for influencers to create video for you. So and then so into like this
question.
Yeah.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Sorry, thank you. Will you be setting aside, I'm trying to use my words carefully, a relative budget for advertising? So, for example, you've got the Euros. I don't think you need to spend too much, but I'm well aware of Cyan having become complacent with a brilliant product, and unfortunately led to its demise. So, will you have a certain percentage set aside? So
it's a really good question. If you recall my slides on Figma and Canva, they didn't ever stop funding that business. They wanted to make sure that business was being properly funded at all points to make sure that they were maximizing their technology and maximizing their idea. So we want to build a company worth in the tens of billions, and I'm not going to shy away from that. We've got big ambitions, which is why in 21 we didn't just push onto our niche product. We're building a product for a bigger market. So will I continue to put money aside for advertising? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Can I just ask?
Yeah.
Because I'm a bit confused on the timelines here. Where is the money coming from? Because it's all very well once you start monetizing, and we don't know when that's going to be. But at the moment, we've got a good product which isn't making any money. The share price is tanking, so a rights issue is not the way forward at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to spend a lot of money to develop the product. You're going to have to spend a lot of money marketing the product, and until you monetize, there is only a very limited pot.
Correct, and thank you for your question. So we've indicated that we will start our monetization from Q1 2025. So that's the first thing to note. We raised money back in 2021. We're currently sitting on just under 6 million in terms of cash, and we will get our product out in terms of the monetization side of it and getting it to gain traction. We haven't changed our message on that, and that is exactly what we're going to do. So we want to make sure that we of course, we will, always look at our numbers, and we have a very prudent cash control person sitting right next to me. But we want to make sure we get that product out, engineering done right by early 2025 to start monetizing that product then.
And the M&E business would be quite
How
key.
much would you have a subscription for users or payments or a one-off payments?
So correct. Yeah. So the subscription is based in several tiers. So there is a free tier. So as is the way that product-led growth works, there's a free tier, and then we will convert, and that's what the purple, exactly where I am now. We'll convert that free tier into paying users. Those paying users will be on several different tiers. So the first will be a creator tier, a pro tier, and you'll talk about this a little bit, I think. And there'll be an enterprise tier, so that there will be different levels of investment for the user as they go through it.
Have you decided yet on how much?
I would say I've got an idea about this, but to be honest, it's a dynamic space. Some of the competitors that we are looking at keenly are moving their pricing around. So we'll be absolutely making sure that we are maximizing every user to ensure, one, that we get the return, but also that we get the growth. So it's a balance. But yeah, we've got a very good idea about where we'd land that.
So it's Kiwi, that's a competitor.
It's so there's a couple of different competitors in the market, but kind of early. But there's one called Scenery.video who's out there.
So which one?
Scenery.video,
Oh,
yeah, and yeah, a number of Ozone is out there. But they're kind of just all kind of in early stages of rollout. So as we said, we're early to this market. There's not a lot of competition, but it's a keenly sought after space to have a collaborative web platform, and so it's not devoid of competition altogether. Question? No. Yeah.
No competition.
No, there is.
There is some competition, but there's not a lot of competition. It's a small amount of competition. Yeah.
I've got one too. A number of companies who have needed to raise money recently, which are listed on AIM, have decided the best route forward is to delist and become private companies. And I also note that two examples, the two case studies you put up there were both unlisted private companies. If you found the coffers were running low and you still haven't sort of achieved, if you like, the inflection point for takeoff, is it something you would consider for Blackbird?
I think you know what my answer is going to be to this one, but there are absolutely no plans to do that. I think it's worth making the point at this stage, though, and I'm almost finished with my slide, but worth making the point is that no companies are identical, right? But this company is highly unusual, and this company is highly unusual for two reasons. One is because it's been around a long time, but secondly, this is the only opportunity for a UK investor to get involved with the creator economy. It's highly unusual that it is on AIM. It's public, and I think that, as you say, that everyone else is private. They have their numbers private, and they can do their valuations go up every time. As you can see, ours haven't. So it is a tricky thing for me to walk, but it is a real, I think, opportunity for investors in this country to get involved in the creator economy. It's pretty much the only one in a meaningful way.
I think most current investors in Blackbird would be very disappointed if you were to go private.
And as you know, I'm a current investor in Blackbird, so yeah, that's I'm almost finished, guys, so I'll just do this last bit. Oh, sorry, yeah, I'm still not on this. Yeah, still on this slide. So yeah, so it's really about making sure that our premium features then can convert that user base into paying subscribers. So whether it be in the creator tier, the pro tier, or indeed the enterprise tier, convincing them with blogs, convincing them with emails, convincing them through socials, having a customer success team as well for those corporate users at that point is really important. And at that level with large corporates, some enterprise sales. It's really not the focus. The enterprise sales is not the focus, but there will be some part of it will be there. And then the last arrow there, please. And going back to again, just to the risk of repeating myself, feature updates. This is about engineering again, making sure that we have the correct engineering, the correct product engineering to make sure that those feature updates are really what the user wants to see. That the ecosystem that we built, i.e. the marketplace, means that they don't have to leave to go and find something else. that community is strong, and that the customer support is exemplary. And yeah, that's where I'm going to pass over to Summit. Before Summit starts, we have got a long list of pre-submitted questions which we're going to go through. So happy to take questions as we go along, but there was also a lot of questions that we're going to go through.
Thank you, Ian. So I just want to reiterate something that Ian's mentioned, because if you're tuned into our podcasts, you're going to see a slightly different story. And there's a very good reason for that. Consumers buy what's in front of them. Obviously, investors are taking a long-term view. So if you watch the podcast and you see the presentations that we did last week and the next ones that are coming up, you'll see us focus on a very small part of what we're doing. Well, not a very small, sorry, a third of what we're doing, which is the creation piece. That's the first bit of the product that we're building. The benefit of what we're doing because it's online, is that we have a lot of opportunities. And what we've really identified is that Elevate.io, even though to the public market, it's really important, because we do get questions from the podcast saying we'd like to hear the full vision. Well, please understand, that's what the AGM's for, and it's what we do the special events for. But what we say publicly may not always, or what we say to users may not always tally with what we're telling you here. What we want to reiterate today is that Elevate is a video content creation platform. It is a management platform, and it will be a distribution platform. That doesn't exist really that much in the world. There are, of course, content management systems. There are distribution systems like YouTube and Insta and Vimeo. And of course, there are video editors, which are traditionally installed software. Our plan is to bring the whole thing together into one offering, but you can't do it all at once. Otherwise, we will run out of money. So we have to do it in the right logical order and in an order that makes sense. And that starts with creation. That's at the heart of Blackbird. And it's what Stephen's been working on for so long. But as a byproduct of what we've been doing for so long in the M&E space, is we have obviously developed technologies in content management and in distribution as well. So we'll talk less about them because they are more things which we're going to be doing down the road. But for now, if we focus on create, and I'm conscious of time because we are running late, so I'll be very quick with my demos. If you are more interested in the creation space, please do tune into our podcast. The previous episodes are all available on demand, but the up and coming ones will be a much deeper dive into the actual technology. I don't want to bore everybody with it here today. So for those of you who haven't seen the editor, the Elevate editor, this is the editing interface, and it's all running in a browser, and it is all running through the network here, and we have nothing installed on this machine. And it's quite remarkable that the example I'm about to show you, this was something that we ran as an internal competition, team 4 within our company, where we divided everybody up into groups of 4, and we had 8 teams or something in the end, and everybody went away and without any warning on the subject had to develop a video together, and they were all in different locations, so they could only use their sort of messaging and email tools as well as our product to collaborate and create a piece of content together. So I'd like to just roll that for the beginning.
Open your eyes, what can you see around? Then try to tell me you got the wrong guy.
So that was an example where they had an hour's time, 4 of them remotely, to build an advert for a perfume bottle. They used AI actually to generate the perfume bottle. But traditionally, this would be impossible. It's an impossible task. You wouldn't be able to have 4 people in different locations around the world. One of the members was in America. It's not possible to do that. The world of content creation always exists, and there's a joke in the industry that the project that the computer the project starts on is the one that it finishes on. And you always have someone who's in charge, and the way with which you do approvals is very lengthy. It's very time consuming. Of course, it's gotten quicker. We're no longer DHLing VHS tapes off for approval. Of course, there are other online tools, but none of them are built into the product itself. So also on the content creation side of it is that we have been aiming always from day one, again, because of the background of Blackbird, to build actually a professional editor. There are other editors that are online in the marketplace. None of them are as sophisticated and as accurate as the one that we built. And that doesn't mean that there isn't a use for those. There's a use for those in lower down the market. And that's completely a different proposition. You need a lot more money to attack that market. It may be bigger, but it's the more consumer it is, obviously, the more you have to spend. We are absolutely going for the middle of the market, which is people who are creating serious content, organizations, obviously education, obviously YouTubers and the like. And they require a tool which is comparable to the installed software. So things that we've included that you would never see in any other online platform are tools where, so this is just one that we've developed recently, select forward, select back. We have good color controls. This is at the moment something that we're working on to improve, but we have real-time color correction within the product. We at the moment have what you can see on the product if you sign up for it and use it, is we have some simple transforms, and this is again something that we're willing to share and show to investors, but it's not something that we sort of put out into the general market. But we've got much more sophisticated controls coming with really, really high accuracy. So these are tools that you would expect from a professional video editing product, and those will be coming in a release. I don't know exactly when, but it'll be sort of in the next month or so. The release for this will come out. So again, I just want to double down on the point that we are building a serious video editor. It has a huge range of applications. It will extend right up into the broadcast sort of side of the world, and it will be perfectly usable for YouTubers or anybody in an organization that needs to use the technology. So our interface, this is a mock-up of where our interface is going. We're actually building out our advanced color controls at the moment, and we're building out better track features. But this is something, and this is the feedback that we get from the people who use it, who are in the industry. They are really surprised and shocked that it is happening in a browser, and they really feel like it's like using a piece of installed software. And that's always been our goal from day one. If you try our product against other products that are browser-based, you'll see instantly that we have a real great feel, and editing is all about feel. It is an art form in itself, and having control of the tool is just absolutely important. The nearest thing we can think of is an editor's like a racing driver. The car is just so crucial, how it works, how it feels, and everything being in the right place is just absolutely imperative. The other piece that was touched on earlier was about generators, and we don't have the monopoly on good ideas. We certainly don't have all the resource in the world, and we want to leverage lots of other technologies that are being developed. In fact, there's never been a bigger market at the moment for a marketplace, because so many people are out there building tools. And AI isn't just, we always think of AI as, image generation or even, potentially video generation, but AI is incredibly useful for other things like speech to text, for correcting text, for auto leveling audio. So a whole bunch of things that are very time consuming ordinarily for sound engineers or editors to go through, even if it's like picking out scene changes. Trivial thing to do, but if it's an hour long, it's going to take you an hour and a half to do it. And if you can press a button, it can be done in 20 seconds.
Because I use 3 speech-to-text editors, but you sometimes have to try 10 different voices to make it look natural.
You do.
It's still quite time consuming.
It is, but it gets better and better.
Get better now in the future, but it is quite slow.
It is, but the best thing is we don't have to pay for that development. Because it's a generator, because it's something that we're using from third parties, it means that it's products that we can embed within our product and charge accordingly, but we don't have to run the development of that, which is incredibly expensive. And it's a race there are a lot of people in that game who are doing it. And I would say that if you look at the progress in the last 2 years, another 2 years, and it is going to become indistinguishable. I mean, it is just getting faster and faster. But it's used in a whole bunch of other areas, auto tagging. So a lot of our market for traditional Blackbird, and something that we expect to do with Elevate, is where people are going to use our product to log the content ahead of it actually being edited. Well, that's incredibly menial. That it's object detection, it's speech detection. If you can have the computer go through and do it for you, that's an incredible advantage in time. Editing is all about time. It's time, not only time to complete the product and to turn it around, but time is money. And anything that can be done to actually make it easier for people. And by the way, even if it's not AI, what we're seeing is that a lot of YouTubers in particular want to shoot their content and they want to finish the content, but they ship it off in the middle, usually to Asia tends to be the hub where most of this is done. That process is quite cumbersome. With a product like ours, it becomes incredibly easy to upload the content, ship it off immediately, just add someone to your project that you're working with, a freelancer, where the labor cost is a lot cheaper. They'll go through, put together what's called a rough cut. You can then pick it up and go, okay, fine, now I can just tweak the bits I want and so on and so forth. Or sound design is really important, and you can be the best editor in the world, but you may not be very good at sound. It's where we brought Jack with us, one of our engineers who works on the audio side of our business, because he's running the sound for this today. And it's a real skill. It's not a skill I have. So it's far better to say, okay, I've got this far in my project. Now let me leave that to somebody else. And we're looking at, and this is something that we're working on with Jack at the moment, we're looking at auto tools to do things like auto ducking and to do auto noise reduction. Again, things that mean that you can just press one button and have it done for you. And that's incredibly useful for people. If the one thing that we want people to use our product is to realize it isn't just that it enables you to do more than you did before, it's really that it becomes a huge time saving. And once that time saving is put into monetary terms, especially for organizations, it becomes a no-brainer. So generators, we believe that we can't even imagine what they're going to end up being. We know the obvious things, connection to stock photo libraries, as we mentioned, some AI generation, text generation tools, audio tools that I mentioned a little bit. But what we're hoping is that people are able to develop outside of us. We'll obviously build them to start with, but we will produce an SDK which will enable others to produce them for us and take part in the monetization of that as well. And we'll expand, and we're talking to some of the partners who are in the video space as it is, the people who produce plugins for traditional tools. We've been talking to them about how they could repurpose some of their tools that they use in traditional editors into working in our world. And what we believe is that it means that we get obviously a better product to market. It means we don't have to do the work, but of course we get to partake in the revenue share. So marketplace is going to be really important. The second area that I mentioned, and Ian touched on this, is content management within organizations. It's a classic mess, and every organization is the same. Everybody invests in video, they get a project done, usually from an agency, it goes on a website, and then very quickly the assets are lost. No one can ever find anything. It's always this sort of, where was that? When did we do that? And more importantly, and this is a really big one, people pay a lot of money to have assets developed, but they never end up with the rights to the content that they paid for. And one of the things that a platform like ours does is it forces organizations to have the ability to impose on the companies that work for them, whether they're freelancers or agencies, it forces on them essentially that you must store everything in our world. You must store it in our domain, our vault. So the people who actually pay for things to get created end up with an asset that enables them to be reused later on. It means that they've got access to everything that went into a project, and everything can be tagged, everything can be searchable, everything can be repurposed for other productions later. This is also going to be incredibly useful for YouTubers who often reference previous videos in their work, whereas at the moment a lot of them have to rebuild a project to find the piece or grab it off the final cut of what they've done previously. We believe management is something that is taken care of a little bit at the moment by the content management space. That's quite an advanced space. It's quite complex. That will exist still for the likes of BBC and other big news networks. But we believe, again, in line with who we're aiming our product, the creator at, that there will be a benefit to the management tool. And sorry, Matt.
Question. These will be rather large files, and I'm assuming they'll be stored somewhere. Where would that be? What would the cost of that be for the company?
They'll always be with Amazon at the moment. That's our current partner. And we actually, if you saw the podcast the other day that we did, we went into quite some depth with a pro videographer. And I'll just give you one quick highlight. To shoot video on a digibeta tape, which is the format from 10, 15 years ago, the cost of that tape, just the monetary cost of it, is equivalent to about 500 years of online storage. So now, don't get me wrong, video files are getting bigger, and obviously we're shooting more because the cost is less on acquisition and the memory cards are reusable. But what we're seeing, and we won't implement this immediately, but we will be implementing glacial storage, which is something that Amazon offer, which essentially is, putting it into the vault. It takes a little bit of time to get it out, but it's incredibly cheap to keep it running. So we believe that the eventual move that you're seeing, I've never deleted a photo off my phone, as an example, but think of how that was compared to using film, and then to early cameras, you're rotating memory cards. But I've got over 30,000 photos on this, and I've never deleted one. And so we expect that to happen with video. It's just going to be now anything that you create, anything that you shoot, you'll just keep it. We'll hold obviously the master file. Obviously, that's available for you to download if it needs to be sent somewhere else. But of course, our whole point behind our product that's been developed is that we have the proxy file, so you can edit with it in a low res but very, very efficient format, and then rebuild your project and then get the full quality version exported later. Taking it further, there's the management piece, there's the content creation piece, but of course, the one thing that's just changed astronomically in the last 20 years, where 20 years ago we only had television and DVD and straight VHS. Of course, there's the whole world of distribution has changed, from Netflix to YouTube to Insta to TikTok. It's a world that I ran a company in for 12 years, so I know it very well. And we have a golden opportunity, because even though we're not going to head out and compete, we're certainly not going to become Netflix anytime soon. We're not going to go for YouTube. We're not going to go for those main players. But there's plenty of opportunity for people who use our product to be able to, obviously, we're not cutting off people from using our product through our plugin infrastructure to publish directly to YouTube, to go directly to Vimeo, etc. But we will also be bringing out our own distribution. Now, that has a lot of benefits, especially for organizations, people who do not want to. If you take the pharmaceutical industry as an example, very regulated, can't just put things on YouTube and so on and so forth. So people who want to create content directly within our product and immediately are able to push it out, and with such speed. And I want to demonstrate that speed to you. This is the first time that we've ever hooked up Elevate to the player that Stephen's been working on. And we take the video that I created here, well, I didn't create it, the team created it here. And I just go up to here to export. You'll see there's an option for getting an MP4, a traditional video file, or getting Spark. Now, all I have to do is hit that button. There's a transfer of content so that it's more available into the public internet, and it gets cached around the world, so it's easy for it to be deployed. But now the link that's being created means that can be embedded into other platforms, even if it's social media networks that aren't video based, or it's into here it is. So here comes the video now as a self-contained video. And I can obviously jump ahead. Now I won't steal the thunder, because Stephen's going to go into a lot more detail about this. And as I mentioned, distribution is probably the biggest opportunity that we have, but it is the one that has to be done in the appropriate order, and we're going to be doing that in the right manner, because what we don't want to do is to flood the market with we do everything immediately, and before we've even got one aspect of it monetized. So that's the biggest one that has the biggest opportunity, and it's the bit that will complete the platform that we're building.
Just got one more question. Can you make a film available only to some people but not to others?
Correct. Yeah, that's the things that we're going to be building into distribution, and where we're going to be a bit different from the YouTubes. And again, this really is a question for Stephen, but for us, it is more that we're building something which is going to be more controllable and more appropriate for, let's just say some media of the future, where people want to actually gate content or monetize content or things like that. But I will say no more for Steve. Okay, so over to.
I might start with a couple of slides.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah. Take over.
Right. So some of you may know we've been working on the player for some time. The latest version of the player actually is Elevate, which is built around the same technology. But we think that it's worth making a dedicated player, but integrated with Elevate. So we've codenamed it Spark. It's still in development, but it's basically working. And I'll just summarize in 3 slides what Spark is all about. So the first thing is the vision. Virality is really important. People have touched on this. How much money are we going to spend on marketing? And Sumit, in his limited time, didn't have a chance to tell you at least half a dozen features of Elevate IO, which make it much more viral than you would expect from a normal editor. But as you use it, you'll discover this. And the multiplayer is one of those examples. But a player is has much more viewers than an editor. So from a point of view of virality, it's a really good thing to have. We need to have an integration with the Elevate editor. We need to have content easily made. And so this is what Sumit showed, editing at Elevate IO and publishing to the player. So the first thing is instant. It will be instant. It wasn't quite instant, but there's nothing in the player that is slowing it down. That's just, early prototype thing. But secondly, when people get to see it, it's a very engaging experience. It's very responsive, and I'll show you this in a minute. Very responsive. It gives you a number of features you don't get on a normal player. But in this first version, it extends existing features. And one of the main ones for virality is that you can clip the content very easily and reshare it. So what we're allowing is very easy content creation and very easy dissemination of that content. Even you find the nice bit of the content, the good bit you like, and you share just that bit. So the second feature is scalable. So some of you may know from our history how our margin in our original products up at 95%, our gross margin. It's very, very efficient and scalable. And so what we're making with the player is using that technology and Elevate, making it very cheap to supply. But what that means is we can give customers a lot more features, including client-side features, because we have an intelligent player. We don't just have a dumb player. We have an intelligent player where we can, over time, add more and more features that would be uneconomical to provide an individual service for every viewer of the video. But with our technology, we can do that. And then looking further to the future, monetization, all the big companies that you've heard of, YouTube and TikTok, they're all on the distribution side. So we want to get a foothold, although we can use them in Elevate, we want to have a foothold where we can directly benefit from monetization going forwards. We'll own those viewers. So that is all for the future, but the infrastructure is all in the player. So how can we make this thing? It's taken not very much work compared with just having the infrastructure. We leverage our own IP. We have a lot of IP. The two things that are most relevant, instant publishing. So we can actually publish in a fraction of a second to the player. And the video is there immediately. It can even be there even before you've uploaded it all, because of the way that the platform works. And also integration with Elevate.io. There's no point in having a brilliant player if you can't edit your content in it. And that integration can be quite advanced, and I'll talk about that going forwards. The second thing it does is to accelerate our new technologies. So BLACKBIRD 10, we put that to one side while we were getting Elevate working, but now BLACKBIRD 10 is coming back, and it's really good to have a showcase for that going forwards. And for testing, Buffalo is our new high-quality audio, which my colleague over here has actually written. And instead of being just normal audio, it's loss-free. It's perfect quality. Not that we need that, but maybe we do. But it's now a technology capability we have, which is available in Spark. And we also have a whole cloud infrastructure, which organizes, on a micro scale. Sumit talked about content management with 30,000 clips and things, but this is on a micro scale. When you're actually editing, it organizes what's stored in the client, what's downloaded when, what's rendered when, to give you a experience when you're using Elevate that everything just happens immediately. So this is another example where we're using Vidlib, the video library, and that is at the core of the player. And finally, on this slide, with the technology enablers, this is a springboard for disruptive innovation. It has very fast turnaround. So with Elevate, we're already up to several releases a week. You won't notice that when you use it, but new features are arriving, optimizations, improvements. They're arriving all the time. But with Spark, we don't just have lots of upgrades a week, but we have a very short pipeline. So Sumit is just starting to get involved, making suggestions from the product point of view, and in a couple of days, they're out there available for users. And that really tight pipeline is only possible on a simple product, but it does allow us to push forward all the technologies really quickly. And then just to tell you a bit about this prototype, which I'll just go through at the end. It's a simple player. So I'll try and keep my analogies down to one. I know Ian will kick me otherwise. But you go to an expensive restaurant and you've got two choices. You can have your fish and chips, but the best fish and chips you've ever had, that you would never be able to make at home. The best batter, the crispy chips, the spices, so that's one choice at your restaurant. Or you could go and have, roast narwhal with Icelandic clams. You would never make anything like that at home. So you have this choice. So we're starting with the player with the fish and chips end, but really, really good. Okay, Elevate will have all the beautiful features. So the user experience is simple and familiar, which means when people use it, they won't be trying to work out what's this amazing feature, how does this magic trick work, like Hogwarts, as I spend years trying to learn how to get the tricks. Everything will work just as you expect. So they'll have lots of standard features, but a lot of them are enhanced because of our technology. We can just give you a much nicer experience of the player than you would get on a normal player. So the second point is the integration with Elevate IO. So obviously the instant publishing makes it a lot easier to share content. So you can just make a copy, make your own link, send it to a friend, then only they would have access. You're not giving stuff to social media to do what they do with it and copy it and share it. You'll control the content, and it supports the Elevate process, which you've seen the create side where Elevate editor is. Manage is not that relevant to the Spark player, but distribute. Elevate will be distributing in all sorts of ways, but this is just an extra string to the bow where we keep control of it. You haven't actually sent the control externally. So I'll just show you Spark in a second, but I'll just tell you how to get hold of it. The first thing is if you see a Spark player around, you can just use it, and you can clip. Anyone who sees it can clip the bits, they can share them anywhere on social media they want to. So it's a real way of getting content out there and increasing, obviously, brand awareness for Elevate and our products and our infrastructure. And secondly, you'll be able to publish with Elevate IO. We need to get the legal terms and conditions sorted, which are very simple for Spark because it's just a player, but we do need those in. And as soon as those are ready, this will be available through your freemium account on Elevate IO. So I will just quickly show you, whoops, wrong button, sorry. Right, thanks. Oh, there it is, thanks. It was easy. So the sort of things we have, this is sort of similar to the YouTube interface. When I shuttle here, I'm not sure what frame rate you're getting over the internet, but it's 60 frames a second as you shuttle. It gives you the big screen. You can actually change the screen size here. I'm not sure what that looks like on the screen. So everything's like really, really high frame rate. You can also, if I just push this up, you've got frame accurate access. So now as I move, you see every single frame. And this is the thing that annoys me most on, on social media. They have some funny thing that happens with a cat, say, and it's so fast, you just don't know what's happened. And you try and do it, and you skip 5 frames or 10 frames. You can't see what's going on. So this gives you really good access. And just like with YouTube, they have minutes and seconds. We have minutes, seconds, and frames here, just to show you that every single frame is accessible and really smooth as well. We have a couple of other features. I won't go into all of them, but flagging is quite important for a player with all the new regulations. This is Steve's doing most of the heavy lifting here with our lawyers. But there are 350 pages of regulations we have to obey to put a player out there, most of which luckily doesn't apply to us because we're a small business. But one of the things we have to support is flagging and clipping and sharing. I'll just show you the clipping. So if I like a bit of this, I can enable clip, and then its instructions will improve this interface. Find where I want to start, so maybe start here, and I just drag out and just choose the bit I want, so maybe go to there. And I can reverse or confirm, and now I've got a new link with just that clip. So this is the second thing that I think will benefit typical social media people. They put a really long video up. Maybe they put the video of this AGM up, but obviously the only bit that's interesting, is this bit. You just want to look at this bit out. So this will allow you just to take those few seconds, 6 seconds out, and publish that as a separate video. And you won't be trying to say, oh, it was like 3 hours, 27 minutes in somewhere they said something interesting. You just clip it out yourself and share it. So this idea is we just make things that should be easy, we make them easy. And the Elevate does this in spades in the editor side, but this allows every viewer to do this. Share that interesting bit on the link that with their friends, with the people who will be interested in that bit. So each piece can go viral to a different audience. So yes, that's really the player. Yeah, any Elevate user will be able to use this.
We need to questions on.
Good. Yes, we are going to move to questions now, guys. So as I mentioned, we've got a quite an extensive list of questions to go through that were pre-submitted. So I know you've got questions in the room as well, so I'll try and get through this as quickly as possible. Okay. So there you go. So, this one? Yes. Okay. Can you please provide precise user, freemium and subscriber numbers today and forecast for the next 12 months? What sort of adoption rates are being seen? So as we've mentioned, we're in the pre-marketing phase of Elevate.io. The user base is growing and we're currently in the mid hundreds. Marketing will be more modest until we get to a post payment phase, which is 2025, as I just mentioned in my presentation. What is the pricing structure of the platform? Well, this is a dynamic area. We'll be competitive within the PLG, within the product-led growth and SaaS web tool space, and we're keeping an eye on competition and of course making changes, adjusting accordingly. Question 3: what are the costs today associated with running free users AWS? They're in the single-digit thousands monthly to currently. We're regularly monitoring and regularly optimizing those costs. Question 4: when will the marketing of the platform start properly, and what outlets are you targeting for highest user adoption? Well, marketing this year has already started to roll out, but very, very early, and paid marketing will be from 2025. Partnerships and influencers will be a key part of that next year. Question 5: is there any live opportunity for Powered by Blackbird in the pipeline? So there's a question about our other business, the Blackbird business. To clarify, a real live conversation with an interested party, not a legacy conversation. Be clear on this one, there are no current conversations happening around Powered by Blackbird that are live conversations. Question 6: Elevate seems a very small, low-key launch, and despite the limited functionality, it seems to work well. What are the next plans for Elevate, and how soon will we see advanced features arrive? 2024 is a really key year for us. We're rolling out features, like we said, on a weekly basis and improvements. Summit's given you a bit of a brief look at what's happening next in terms of the product, and Q1 2025 is when we see the payment gateways arrive on that one. Question 7. Pre-Elevate launch, it was suggested that Elevate would generate revenues. Will it? Are they expected to be significant? So will it? Yes. Are they going to be significant? Yes. When will we are likely to have a product that users will pay to subscribe to? Q1 2025. Approximately how many regular active users does Elevate currently have? We've talked about this being in the mid to high hundreds currently of engaged users and early adopters. Question 9: in terms of personnel, what is the split of R&D staff between media entertainment, so the Blackbird platform, and the new Elevate platform? Is it 50-50 or more resource dedicated to Elevate? It's really about, the focus is really on Elevate.io now. We believe that Elevate.io is where we're going to get the best return, and it is the most investment heavy at this stage, and that's really where the focus is. Question 10: from an investor point of view, the Elevate launch was significant in a few ways. First, to show us Blackbird's tech capabilities. Second, to show how we can attract users in serious numbers, and to offset cash burn in the overall business. So we're not in such a weak position in the future. Despite some positives on the platform and its ease of use, I'm not fully convinced on all of these points. Could you please address them? Well, I think in terms of tech capabilities, I feel really happy about this. I think that we've solved a problem already in the collaborative video content creation space that's not been sold by any of the big guys or any of the other small guys. We've really created a beautiful experience in the multiplayer environment. So it's a stable environment, quick loading, low latency, high performance. I think the next thing is to really to show that bit of the presentation where I talked about free user acquisition, free user activation, and free user retention, and that is going to be part of the go-to-market plan that I took you through. The cash flow side of things, this will only materialize after the payment gateway starts in Q1 2025. Question 11. I understand the Summit and Mo would be working together as an experienced, effective team during a period of gaining significant market penetration with Elevate. Why is Mo no longer listed as part of the leadership team? Does his apparent departure signal a significant change in the launch plan? No, it does not signal a change. Mo has been an incredible asset to this team since he joined in mid-2022. He's been absolutely instrumental working with Summit in terms of product development and working with the teams across the piece in terms of brand and naming of the platform. We've got to make sure as we go forward that we have the right skill sets in place for the next stage of the rollout, which is really about execution. And that's the key reason why Mo's on with the business, because he really was more strategic than execution. We'll continue to strengthen the team around Summit to make sure that we can execute well against this strategy. Is Elevate.io going to be fully launched independently by Blackbird, or will this be done in arrangement with a larger company with a much larger existing market presence? We want to get the product to a point where we can charge for the product. And as I mentioned, I think that partnerships are a key area of growth, but at this stage, there's nothing in place, although there has been interest in that area. When do you plan to start promoting Elevate.io, and do you expect to be offering a chargeable version? If you can't give a planned date, give an indication at least 2 months away from now. Well, we've started with organic growth, and that will continue the way through 2024. 2025, we'll start seeing more paid marketing around the product. 14, do the profitable market prospects for Elevate now seem better, the same, or worse than 6 months ago? Absolutely better. I can't emphasize how much how big this problem is that we've already solved, i.e. the multiplayer environment on the web as a collaborative video tool. So 6 months ago, we hadn't solved that problem fully, and we are improving it every day. So absolutely happier than we were 6 months ago, and an awful lot happier than we were 12 months ago. How is the enterprise product performing? Is there any significant improvements to its prospects for making a trading profit? We're aiming for break even on that product, EBITDA break even on that product this year, and I said the emphasis really in terms of development is in Elevate, but that product continues to have a sales team and have conversations, and we're aiming for break even this year. 16. In the interview with proactive investors, Ian said a payment gateway would be ready before we started seeing revenue, and we start seeing revenues by the end of Q1. It appears that there's been a delay in the product development. Can you please explain the delay and update when the payment gateway is scheduled for? Well, I'm updating today that the payment gateway is scheduled for Q1 2025. The fact that I said there would be a payment gateway start, I think it's a dynamic environment here, an agile process, and that we thought it best that we develop our engineering and our products before we drive adoption before we put a payment gateway on. We want to make sure that when we go to convert those free users, that it's really a product that they really want to pay for. 17. In the 22nd of March 23 finals presentation, in response to a question on marketing of the creator product, Summit emphasized Mo as a linchpin in the process. Mo appears to have recently departed Blackbird. Is he still involved? And if not, then can you please explain how the marketing strategy has been adapted? As we've said, Mo really had the right skill sets at the time and really helped us drive product innovation and branding. As we go into execution mode, we believe we need a different skill set than Mo was providing. So, anything you want to add on that one at all?
No, I mean, Mo created the name Elevate. He's created the brand. He's helped create a lot of the proposition. He's forever influenced what we've done, but we're now moving to an execution phase, and things change now, and it becomes a lot more focused on sort of hand churning activity, and that's what's key for us.
I've got a couple of questions now that are very long, so I'm going to try and, on the fly, try and edit them. Right, okay, so first one is some comments from X. The idea is great. It still looks a little limited. To summarize this question, will you be building out the features and making it more frictionless? I think the quick answer to that is yes, we will be making it more fully featured, and yes, we'll be improving the friction or reducing the friction.
Wow.
Another long question. So something about this is about the copy and advising that our copy doesn't feel very true to what people actually say. I think this is a period of experimentation. We're really working on how the mechanics of the marketing work now. It is prepaid marketing, and we take your points and note them. We're evolving this process. There's a question on inheritance tax, which I don't feel in a position to be able to answer. I have to say so. Move on to the next one. That one. When will be released for commercial purposes? Shareholders. So yeah, Q1 2025. Why is the company share value continually decreasing in value if you have a descriptive technology? Well, the value is a sore point, obviously. I mean, and we're embarking on a product-led growth strategy where the rewards for this product, for a successful execution, are absolutely enormous. And you know, really, as I say, I'll go back to that point where I made to say this is the only opportunity for the majority of British investors to get involved in the creator economy. So I really do impress on you that this is a huge opportunity to look for your support. I top up where I can. I'm a big investor in this company. I think it's exceptional value, and I really think that, you know, that is how I can best answer that question. Yeah, as an investor, I feel the pain as much as anybody. What additional key features and enhancements are needed to Elevate to reach premium status? Sam, do you want to take that one?
What would lead it to create
premium readiness for Elevate? Which, sorry, wrong question.
There's two bits.
So quite the first part of the question, what additional features and enhancements are needed for Elevate to be ready for premium status? I guess that means paid status.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, what is the estimated timeline for achieving premium readiness? We've talked about that being Q1 next year.
So the main thing at the moment that we're building out, or one of the main features, is teams. So at the moment, everybody who goes on to Elevate and signs up for it, they exist as an individual person, and they can use multiplayer and they can share things, but you can't at the moment combine them into a group of people. So teams is that concept where people are able to be grouped into an entity. So obviously works for organizations and education, etc. But more importantly, it's the billing point. So that is the prerequisite for billing. It's also the beginnings of our content management phase. So without teams, that's what stops us doing the billing at this moment in time. We also have a number of the generators, which we're working on at the moment. Text is the most obvious one, text and transitions. We did demo transitions at the podcast the other day, but they're the main things which are needed for the product to be monetized.
Question 26. Is the current lack of promotion for Elevate due to strategic decisions to minimize costs, such as storage, until the platform is ready for its premium launch? I think the quick answer is yes, that's right, and it's really to maximize ROI. So when we do start spending money on paid advertising, that we can monetize that in terms of a payment gateway. Another question on Mo. I think we've answered the question on Mo. There was a question on Juicy. We hired a lady called Juicy as social media manager back in January, just to very much touch on that very quickly, where Mo provided an enormous amount of value for the company. As I say, the name came from Mo, and a lot of the strategy came from Mo in terms of the product. Juicy was not the right hire, and we let Juicy go pretty quickly, and we have filled her space with somebody else, and he is in this room. If cost saving is the reason for not replacing these roles, okay, the roles were replaced, so that's fine. I understand Elevate is initially targeted at high-end creators with an uncluttered, user-friendly platform. Given its relatively easy product to master, what is the projected timeline for expanding the target audience to a broader user base? Well, I've talked through some of those timelines as regards to Canva and Figma, and we talked about the payment gateway coming next year. I think that's when we start to see the ramp up of numbers, the ramp up of paid numbers. Question 30. The company was hoping to achieve traction for the market for Elevate before cash is depleted and other funding is required. Does this expectation remain, and how will it be achieved? So just to reiterate, we have almost £6 million in the bank. And we've always said the same message, that we would get our product out with a payment gateway and get traction. And that is what we intend to do with the money that we have in our bank.
Which payment gateway are you going to use? It's quite with subscription, it can be a bit difficult.
Yeah, so this is well, it's a competitive space. We don't want to talk too much about it, but there is. We want to talk about paddle, where there is a.
We're mainly looking at paddle as the front runner paddle,
Oh,
because it gives us the ability to deploy into many countries without having to worry about the tax association of it, because they're essentially a broker. Currencies as well as they handle the tax consideration.
Well, I just, first of all, since it's my first time at the AGM and joining the board, wanted to tell you a bit about why I was so excited about the opportunity. And I was in the office Friday when we were doing the release updates. I think about it as two ways. First, for the content creators. What we're doing for the content creators is giving them power that used to only exist in a broadcast world. And we're giving them control, which is a massive issue right now. For content creators, those are the two things they think about all the time: power and control. And then on the other side of the fence, we're literally changing the unit economics of producing video. And we're doing that with two super simple things: speed, which is the biggest factor for anybody who's done video editing. Hundreds of hours of content go into 1 minute of content and takes hours to produce. And then the second thing, which is equally important, not just for us, for the content creators, but for the economy and the well-being of this planet, is we are getting rid of wastage. And waste is probably the second biggest cost in the content creation economy and in video specifically. And that's what's making it so exciting.
Thank you. All right. Yes.
Philip.
So just to go back to your £6 million, £6 million is not a huge amount of money in the context of where you want this company to be. It's going to be probably 9 months, if you're lucky, before you start monetizing. That's first quarter. How fast are you burning through your cash at the moment?
Yeah, our cash burns around the similar level to 2023. So for 2024, pre-marketing, I think it'd be about 3.8 to 4 million.
Yeah, so you've got maybe a year and a half, and that's without spending additional money on the sort of marketing that you're going to need. So it is sort of a race to get everything.
Not going to hide from it, Philip. Absolutely, we want to make sure that we're out there and we're getting traction in the market, and our valuation is going to be a lot higher than it is today. But right. it is what it is. We want to get this product out there, and we have what we have. We were very happy that we raised money in December 2021. It's allowed us to have this opportunity to build this product out. So I've got the jewel in my hand, if you like, in terms of what we've done in terms of solving the problems. What we're layering on now is slightly simpler in terms of problems that we're solving. And we believe that we'll be out there with a payment gateway and gaining traction early next year.
But it is dependent on that. Is there a plan B if monetization is delayed beyond what you're hoping for?
I mean, there's always a plan B, but yeah, nothing that we have intention on executing right now. But yeah, we need to make sure that we are careful with our cash, and Steve is the most careful man I've ever worked with. So yeah, I think. Yeah.
Congratulations on your office move.
Oh, thanks.
When you're a non-profit making company and you're a year away from monetizing, that office would come with extra expense.
No, it's
we're very happy saving a lot of cash compared to the Wimbledon office. So yeah, we've moved to a more flexible arrangement in terms of a really small office space with communal areas. So yeah, we're making savings of over 60,000 a year moving into the new space.
It's funny when you have a fixed office and you have to pay the rent, and then you have to pay the service charge, and you have to pay the rates and the electricity. It all adds up. So yeah, there's a big saving.
And our Wimbledon office was for 40 people, and now with working from home and obviously a cloud platform, we don't need such a big space. So.
It's the environment as well. And if you bear in mind that the people that we're attracting into the company, people want to work in a place like that. It's because there are so many other companies like us there. It breeds so much better feeling, environment, everything. Whereas we were sharing, the building tuition house with Parkside Hospital. I mean,
Yeah.
You know.
Tessa.
Can I just ask, at the beginning you sort of outlined that you've got a bit of a head start with obviously what Stephen's done and trying to emulate Canva and Figma. But could Sumit just say, because you've also given the business a huge head start with having sort of done this before, and maybe you haven't really touched on that, which I think is why you're able to slightly expedite things.
Yeah. So my experience historically is much more in two parts of the puzzle. The other two that we're getting around to, well, actually three. So the company that I ran was really a content management and distribution company, and that was mainly focused in financial services and pharmaceuticals. So I'm absolutely sure that everybody who was in that space historically, we all made a massive mistake. We all made everything way too complex. And that's completely the nature of the first companies that end up in a space often overcook it. DEC and IBM didn't bring out the personal computer, they brought out rooms. And so I'm absolutely adamant that actually what people want, it's a bit like content management. The content management for websites was dominated by Vignette and Documentum and these really large, expensive products, and it ended up in Squarespace and WordPress and things like that. So the good news is that it's going to be a lot easier to build because we're not going to go to the nth degree. And obviously, technology's moved on so far. We've got good experience, not only in Blackbird, but also some of the team that came along and worked for me in my previous company as well. So they're with us. They've got extreme experience in hosting, hundreds of thousands of files for, absolute Forbes 500, Forbes 2000 companies. So we know how to do it, and we see the great opportunity there. Distribution, the same. I ran obviously a distribution company, and we obviously going to be doing it a slightly different way. We're not going to go head on head with. We're certainly not going to fight with YouTube, because that would be silly. But we know that there are opportunities, market opportunities, and we want to go for those as much as possible. And then, of course, the main reason I came here was because my experience in running Vegas Pro, one of the largest video editors out there, it was just so obvious that this thing has to move into the cloud. And everybody, I had a great conversation yesterday with someone who runs a consortium of attached to all of the players in the industry. We're all competitors, but we also talk. That's how the world works, and we always, know each other at the shows. And it's fascinating how many people are now beginning to realise the move towards online, because it's happened in so many other places. It's not just Figma and Canva. They're, if anything, just the last lot that have gone. In fact, the very last lot that have gone to the sound industry is moving that way, the audio industry. The design industry is gone. The CAM and CAD industry has moved already at the same time as the design. But long before that, an industry we don't really think about, but it's huge, as accounting, has all moved online for the obvious benefits. It's not just them. You look at communications, you look at how, obviously Google Docs, and how that's already moved online. Almost every industry, just think about how we book taxis now and how we do things. Everything's moving towards that way. And as Ian mentioned, video has been the laggard, and it's been a laggard for good reasons, because of the file sizes, because of the complexity of processing, all of which, luckily, we have had huge experience just in a very narrow field, M&E, and so we do some amazing things with the games this year and almost every other major sporting event in the past. But as big as they are, unfortunately, the opportunity for us is only that big. Whereas what we're more interested in doing is taking everything that we've built over that period of time that unfortunately has been packaged to work for the media and entertainment industry and not for small organizations. People just want to buy. The buying time is just so much smaller now. People want to buy on a credit card. Even organizations, they want to sign up and they want to be running. Nobody wants a 10-week IT installation process or having to get a consultant in and a project plan. And people just want to buy products and get on with them. And that's been the real success of the CAMs, the Figmas, the Google Analytics, and a whole host of other tools. I mean, you just look at all the tools we use to build Elevate. Almost every single one of them is a cloud-based SaaS product. Linear, we use to do all of our, our issue tracking and development plans. It used to be another product, Jira, that was installed and ran on premise, and even though they run in the cloud now, we've moved towards the the newer, easier, friendly to use product where we just pay a seat license for each person and we flex it up and flex it down as we go.
That's really helpful, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for an interesting presentation from you, Lee. I think one of the things I was a bit surprised about looking forward to the launch of Elevate IO was the editing system I use is Camtasia, and technically I think it's deeply flawed, but as a user experience, the sorts of things I want to get access to on a regular basis is just there. And I was kind of expecting, given that BLACKBIRD already serves the professional market, I was expecting a much richer series of features available. And yeah, I can see that it launched technically very successfully with fewer features. And so I was expecting those features now to be layered in much faster than they turn out to be. And I don't know whether that's actually your expectation too, or whether your expectation, because I kind of feel as a shareholder that was what we were led to expect. So there seemed to be a bit of a disconnect, I think, in the shareholders or my expectations compared to what actually has transpired.
Sure, but we're getting faster. I did address this in sort of fairly recently in one of our communications, that it's so crucial for us to get the infrastructure right. And the infrastructure is more than just our experience in what we've done in M&E. There's so many parts of the puzzle. We're building our generators to work with third parties. Now, we could just go, forget it, let's just build it as quick as we can, rush it out there and get it out in the open. The problem is with video projects is that we have a duty of care to the people who create projects, not to make their projects unusable going forward. And you've seen companies do that where there's interoperability between releases, and that's not going to be good for especially for a cloud product. You just wouldn't expect that.
Like Camtasia, actually, every time you upgrade Camtasia, it has to reconfigure all the video files. Yeah. So that's why it's deeply flawed for sure. Yeah,
and we want to make sure that the upgrade process, one, people don't even know it's happened. It just happens in the background. It happens every day. There's pretty much a release every day. Most of it is performance enhancement, so we don't shout about it, but obviously you will have seen the communication that we do when we have something worth seeing. All I can say is that internally we're getting faster. Nobody more than me wants this to move faster. It's obvious. There's absolutely no reason why we'd be wanting to hold anything back. We are just also incredibly cautious because we see the big opportunity, because we see and we know what getting this right means. It means getting it right. It means in order to reach the big opportunity, we just have to get it right. We can't make a full step. It's frustrating that time is the cost for that, and I will admit to that. However, I've seen and been party to missteps in the past which have been made in haste, and the damage is far, far greater. And so for us, and whilst it is a concern, there's no unlimited supply of time and money, we understand that. But we are aiming for the goal, and in order to get there, we have to do things the right way. We have to.
Yeah, I applaud the sense of building it carefully rather than rushing it out and not being subject to external pressures. Would I be right in saying it is actually the commercialization is slower than the board had expected? Because somewhere there seems to be a disconnect, I think, between the expectations that the shareholders had about the speed at which it was going to be commercialized versus now. It's the first time I've heard Q1 2025. So I don't know whether that is also a slightly different expectation that the board had around the speed at which this thing ultimately is moving.
Yeah, Colin, I said that in mid-2023. I said that it would be, and I think we've taken a view as a company that we want to get the products and the features right and the engineering and the infrastructure right first. So is it slower? I think it's going to be slower, but done right. Is what we're
Thank you.
How many of you are working on this?
Oh God, that's a percentage of the company.
How many developers?
Around about 20, isn't it?
Yeah, 15 working on it.
15 on this one.
About 5 days a week? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, my lot
And do you
work.
work
My lot
together?
work 7 days a week, but
So I've got
they're
a
not usual.
I've got a question from online. So we've got a quite good reputation of answering every question, but a lot of the questions are repetitive. So I apologise for anyone who thinks their question hasn't been answered, but I've answered a number of questions a couple of times. So Summit, do potential plugin providers need a volume of users before they develop their plugin? But do potential users see the lack of plugins as an issue to the signing up? Are both sides wanting each other to make the first moves, as it were?
No, I think look, we're talking to companies at the moment. I think there is a chicken and egg, but you've just got to get going. You have to get out there. We're going to start by seeding our own product, our own plugins to start with, and we'll obviously, we can't expect Dropbox and YouTube to come to us at this stage, but it's easy for us to build it for them, and so we'll do a lot of them to start with. But we had a great conversation yesterday with a industry-leading content management system that they approached us. We really want to be part of your plans, and we're going to be working with them as an example.
Do they need to re-engineer that, or is it just the API that you need to ingest and do something with?
Do they need to
re-engineer their products in order to be usable, or is it an API?
No. They have their API. We obviously have ours and our SDK, and obviously our guidelines. And so someone has to build something in the middle. It doesn't happen by magic. There are some which there is, just for example, we will accept what's called RTMP, how we're broadcasting this show to investor meets. We will just accept that. So anybody who produces encoding kit, then guess what? It'll all just work. Same as file formats. But for the plugins in general, no, it will have to be, somebody will have to do the work in the middle. It's got to work in our interface. It's got to follow our design guidelines and so on and so forth. So,
can I ask you, are you going to use Dropbox?
Dropbox? Dropbox or
Dropbox, that's
yeah.
it, yes.
Yeah, we know that will be one of the options along with Google Drive. Google Drive as well as OneDrive. They will just be options for people who already have some of their content there. So it's just an easy way to transfer stuff.
The Dropbox didn't work for me or Muddle.
Yeah, I think it's more, and people have had various different experiences. Funny enough, the video industry isn't a fan of Dropbox, but a lot of people use it in the industry. Remember, we're not only targeting video editors, we're looking much broader. So we can't ignore that. We can't ignore Google Drive. We can't ignore OneDrive either.
There's a couple of questions online about the M&E business. One is, are we expecting any income from M&E over the next 12 months? Absolutely. We have live contracts with very prestigious broadcasters in the sports and news area, and that will continue. Will it be renewed? Yes, they will. And so that is an absolute resounding yes on both of those. Ian, if you haven't already done so, could you expand on the statement about EBITDA break even in the enterprise division? Well, especially in the enterprise division, that's where we're targeting enterprise break even there, and we're very close right now. What's the current difference there, Steve?
Yeah. Well, we're loaded a little bit towards the second half of the year, where we have the summer games and the EVS minimum guarantee, which kicks in December. So we're just a couple 100,000 down, I think.
Yeah, and the EVS rollout is still happening. As we know, the media entertainment sector doesn't move particularly quickly. They have rolled out to their first customer that we've unfortunately not allowed to publicly name, but is a big US gold standard broadcaster in the sports space, and that's been rolled out. They're now looking at packaging the Create product into another platform that they're rolling out from July. So that is absolutely happening. We want it to happen faster, but it's not in our control because this is M&E and it is done through a third party, but it is absolutely still ongoing. One for Stephen. Renderless playback for distribution is golden. When will it appear in Elevate?
Well, when we get the legal terms and conditions straight. I mean, it's already an Elevate for Summit and me. So.
Stephen, Sorry. He's moving around, by the way, in case you think that I'm.
It's, when questions come in, then we've got this.
Yeah. Stephen, I feel the shareholders and potential investors could benefit from video podcasts explaining more about the things you talk about, Spark, integration of publishing, etc., which could also be references to return and relook at that. Could you please do that, please?
I could do them in Spark actually, as soon as Spark's out, and Sumit can help me produce that and jack that.
You can be a guest on my show.
Oh yeah.
Good.
So, yes.
Excellent. Okay, that one's solved. So that's a big yes. It does could be jumping around, guys, so apologise for this. Right, where are we? Will Spark, it looks awesome, by the way, work well on a mobile device?
Yes. Android and iOS we're supporting. It may work on other mobile devices. Android and iOS are the two we're testing.
Yes.
In fact, one of them was just answered. But what I was going to supplement your question is, will all these questions and answers be on the website somewhere on your site?
Through Investor Meets, yeah.
Yeah.
Not the ones in the room, but we'll do the ones that on
online.
Yeah.
Great, excellent, thank you.
Having used Elevate extensively, one feature missing is the pane feature that is present in other editors. Well done.
Which one?
The pane feature. So that is I think that's basically saying that's basically well done. It has 0 pane features. And welcome as the new chair. Can I ask you to describe briefly what you hope to provide to the company, and will you be continuing to hold positions in other companies? And if so, will they affect your commitment to Blackbird?
No, I take my commitments very seriously, and so I'm very careful about how much I take on. I come from a SaaS background. I have a mix of product and tech and commercial background. I'm going to help the team direct their focus, direct their go-to-market. I've done a lot of go-to-market very successfully at scale globally. And just being there to support the execs. Board members are there to augment, enhance the skills of the exec team and of the whole company, really. And what you're supposed to do as a great board member is just bring that to life and to help them in that journey. So that's what I hope to contribute.
Question says, Ian, why aren't you headhunting the numerous experts on the ADVFN chat? Good point. The company would definitely be big tech by now. Okay, so maybe all show up next time. I can meet you in person. Right. So all good. We're on track to be billionaires. However, the stock is tanking. At 3.8p. Significant inside stock purchase will be send a strong signal to the long-term investor base. What you say is true. Any plans for this, please? We will support where we can. We've all put a lot of money in, but we'll support where we can. Thank you for the comment. Will you offer annual subscriptions, i.e. 12 months for the price of 10 from the launch of paid versions in order to get cash in quickly? Something question for you.
Yeah, it's quite customary in SaaS to offer the annualized payment at a discount, and yes, we would. In fact, the benefit to us obviously cash flow. So yes.
When will you be able to upload directly into Elevate from our mobiles or cameras?
Well, you can through some mobiles if you go through the browser, but we will be building a mobile application, and camera to cloud is something that we're looking at with various camera accessories which are broadcasters.
What looks like the final question online, do you have minimum cash requirements or covenants in any of your existing deals, e.g. financial news organization? Question, Steve.
Yeah, there's no minimum cash commitments or covenants in any deals.
So that concludes the questions online. Any more questions in the room before we close?
Yes. 25. That's the one.
That's the one.
Is
that it?
I've come here for that. I'm going to share with you 23 years. You remember me?
Yeah.
Look, you've told me patience is a virtue.
Thank you. Thank you.
2020.
Thank you for coming today, and thank you for your patience. I appreciate it.
Okay, we're due to conclude.
I've got one more question. Say you have 100 and so users. Which country are they in?
Hundreds of users.
Hundreds.
It's hundreds, and the majority US and Europe.
US and Europe,
Yeah,
and that's what you're going to aim for.
So US will almost inevitably be about 80% of our market initially. What tends to happen is after 3 or 4 years, Europe will then sort of be a percentage of that. And after 3 or 4 years in scale, then especially as we add globalization or localization for languages, then we would expect to get growth in Asia and South America. Localization, so language translation in the product, in the interface. Yeah, so that's obviously doesn't really stop Europe too much, but it does obviously.
So you use language translation, would you use something that will translate?
No, we would. No plans yet. We not sure. There's 1,000 different ways you can have that done.
Summit, if they're all, or maybe in the US, does that mean they're doing all their editing using Apple Macs, or is it?
No, I mean it's a variety. Penetration of Apple is bigger, I think, in the US than actually. Well, in parts of Europe, it's actually greater.
You can track that, can you?
Yeah, we know exactly what we know what every single user. We know exactly what platform.
Are any of them brave enough just to use it on a mobile Android device without a mouse?
Well, Chromebooks. Yeah, Chromebook works. So that's the nearest thing I would argue to an Android-like computer. Yeah, something bigger than that. In fact.
Okay. I've got a question for the other Steve. Yes. We spoke earlier a little bit about EIS and BCT headroom, and I think you said we've only used 3 million so far.
Yes. So there's.
Are we considered knowledge intensive? Could we go up?
We are considered knowledge intensive. Yes.
So we could raise another 17 million.
Yeah, up to 17 million. Yes, as long as we continue to be, obey the rules going forwards or whatever that comes.
I would. Should you need more funds, I would urge you to do that, because you've got to a stage now where you're sort of about to take off in terms of revenue, and you'd be very, very attractive for certain BCTs like Foresight and Foresight Enterprise, for example.
Agreed.
Yeah, and EIS funds.
Yes.
People wishing to avoid inheritance tax, which is likely to become more punitive sometime later this year, like July.
Yeah,
possibly
July the 4th. Yeah, but
I will speak for themselves.
Just one question, which probably has nothing directly to do with enterprise, but more to do with security. We're well aware of certain states who, and if things take off, you're going to be quite prominent. What security measures have you got to protect yourselves from hackers? And are you in touch with relevant government departments, especially security ones? They did have an advertisement a few years ago to help protect businesses. So what measures are you in touch with relevant government departments to put in place relevant measures?
We do have pen testing on our platform. So we do work with external security companies who provide the audit for us. That's obviously just generalized technology. We're actually very lucky in that the nature of BLACKBIRD 10 and the way that it works has an extra accidental layer of security, which is something that we look to exploit. We're going to look to exploit actually ourselves with working, because a lot of the people who are in our space don't have anything like the level of security, whereas for us, the assets are so secure that we see that as a selling point. It's not something we're leading with, but it's absolutely something that when we get around to the banking industry and other industries, we'll be using as a selling point.
Yeah, and there's also in terms of the products that people are holding online. The last thing you want to do is for something to hack it, damage it. It's not going to do that representation.
It's there's something else I just touched on. We don't publish this outside the industry, but we have a thing called SOC 2, which is a big American, for obviously our big clients, big American structure for it's a process thing for security. It covers lots of things, but security is one of the big areas. And we have an audit for that every year, and they update the requirements for the audit every year. And this is one of the things that Steve does most of the work on, but I helped get it started. And as we get bigger and bigger clients, that will cover Elevate. But the whole company has a very good structure. Yeah. I mean, on top of being a public company and having our auditors checking our controls, we have a whole extra layer for client-specific things.
I think it's worth re-emphasising that we work with the real premium video in the world of sports and news, and we work with the US State Department. So we've always had to have the most open to the most forensic look at how secure our platform is, and it's one of the real benefits of having the media entertainment platform BLACKBIRD work alongside Elevate is that learning is carried across.
I'm aware of the US departments, which is good advertising, but it's built on its own.
Yeah, but it gives a lot of reassurance, right? So,
Yes, it helps. Yeah.
So which coding language do you use?
Oh, use a lot of coding languages.
Is
There's
there
a real
any
mix.
difference for security reasons as well? JavaScript.
There's a real mix. I mean, JavaScript's a lot of the front end, but C++ for a lot of our C++ for a lot of our video infrastructure, and Go in places for the server side stuff. So there's almost Python in places. There's
Python 3.
There's everything. Yeah, there's just a whole bunch of stuff, which is completely in line with what you expect from a cloud product.
I must go, but you've got great products, so I'm using
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for your time.
Support. Good. There's one more question from the online. So, is it going to be multilingual at launch? I think we covered that off. It's going to be multilingual over time, but
Not a launch, but we definitely have left the provision for it to become.
Any more questions from the floor? Well, thank you for attending today, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes the meeting for today.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. I'd like to thank the board for updating
Yes.
attendees today. Please ask attendees not to close the session. It should be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order the team can better understand your views and expectations. On behalf of the board of Blackbird PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's annual general meeting proceedings, and good afternoon to you all.